Hey guys, it's Big Mike. I'm adding this note to the recording after the webinar has finished. Unfortunately, I had a blue screen in Windows during the webinar. It happened at about minute 12 of the recording. And due to that, the first 12 minutes of the recording became corrupted on my system. So all I was able to salvage is audio. I could not make the video work any more than what you're seeing in the recording. After minute 12 and after the blue screen, I came back into the webinar and everything was fine. So you'll have to just excuse that and do the best you can with the audio. Use your imagination, or if you want to see a screenshot of what the SuperDOM looks like, which is what Ray was talking about, you can find it in the webinar thread on BMT.
I'm going to ask for your patience today. I'm kind of losing my voice. I know Ray has a lot of ground to cover today. He wants to talk about NinjaTrader 8 and the new SuperDOM that they've developed, as well as some detail about the new NinjaScript code changes that are going to be part of NinjaTrader 8. I know that there's going to be a lot of questions from you guys. So I just ask that you try to keep them on topic as much as you can to what Ray is speaking to. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a webinar that goes in 100 different directions. So just do the best that you can. I also want to remind everybody that the webinar is being recorded, and I'll post the recording on BMT sometime tomorrow. Okay, guys, so with that, let's just go ahead and get started. And I'm going to turn things over to Ray. And Ray, you should have control now.
Oh, Kevin, you're the main presenter. Yeah. Show my screen. Here we go. Okay.
Okay. I've got a PDF, and I can hear you. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the opportunity to come to the community and talk about what we're doing over here at NinjaTrader with NinjaTrader 8. As Mike said, I've got a lot of stuff to cover, and Mike, you didn't mention it, and I'm not sure if it changed, but you had mentioned to me that we've got an hour. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I mean, we can go longer as long as I can still talk.
Understood. Okay. So basically, I've got a pretty slim agenda. Talking about the SuperDOM is my first order of business. Second, I'll talk a little bit about the where we are at in terms of NinjaTrader development release date. I'm sure a lot of you are curious about that. And then I'll talk about NinjaScript and some of the changes we're making, and kind of lock down on a number of different items so that you guys know what to expect. This is primarily geared towards people who are doing development work.
Ray, before we go much further, is there a way that you can boost the volume a little bit? It's a little low on your mic.
Give me a second. Let me see what I can do. And let me try and see if I might lose you here. Let me try switching here.
Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Does that make it better?
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Ray.
You bet. Okay. So let's just dive right into NinjaTrader 8 SuperDOM, and I'm going to launch NinjaTrader 8 here. And I'm going to use the playback connection. We renamed Market Replay to playback, and let me just connect up. And the reason for that was quite simple. We added the ability to replay historical data. Obviously, market replay data is also historical, but what I mean by historical data is historical tick data that you would get from any market data provider, including ourselves, Kinetic, eSignal, for example, versus just being limited to recording market replay data or getting that from our servers. And I need this replay because I'm going to show you some things in the DOM that are new and shiny. So let me go ahead and just configure. I've got some data from December 3rd. And I'm going to just move the slider forward a little bit to regular trading hours. And let me open up a static SuperDOM. And I know it looks humongous to you on the screen, and there's a reason for that. Let me just knock the size down. By default, when you first started, it's going to be this big, and if you had increased the size, NinjaTrader 8 persists the last size of your windows, so it comes up in whatever last size you had previously. One of the major things that was high in demand for our DOM is adding the ability to have a volume profile. The difficulty in that was when you start adding additional pretty significantly sized columns, you change the overall look and feel in the real estate. So the challenge was to make sure that we provided the features that people wanted, but not compromise anything in terms of look and feel and usability that people who could probably care less about volume profile, we didn't want to affect those people. So we believe that we've been able to design this in a way that gives people who just want the NinjaTrader 7 style DOM and how they use it the same level of functionality, or actually more functionality, but usability is not hindered or changed in any way, but also provide those people who want more the ability to add more to their DOM. And so this is what the NinjaTrader 8 DOM looks like. As some of you have seen in previous recordings or webinars, we have an added tab capability. You can see here down where my mouse is, I've got one tab open, but I could have multiple tabs for different markets. The order entry interface is slimmed down. As you can see here, same type of setup. We've got instrument, quantity, time in force, account. What's different is that the ATM strategy information is now contained inside this what we call ATM strategy selector, and if I want to create a ATM template, I could do so by selecting custom, for example, and this is where you'd get your parameters for defining how you want your stops and targets submitted and your auto trails and break evens. A few things to note here. One of the things that we did add was the ability to add an infinite number of stop and target brackets. With NinjaTrader 7 and before, you were limited to only having 3. Now you can have as many as you want. For the most part, I think 3 was more than sufficient, but we didn't have enough demand to expand on that. We have also added the ability to use an MIT order for your profit orders, which actually there's two things there. We've added the capability for MIT orders in NinjaTrader 8, and we also added the ability to associate an MIT order to your target order. And the idea is real simple. You create your strategy. You can save them as templates just like you did in NinjaTrader 7. The difference being when you click on the strategy selector, you will see all your templates listed in this selector. You can select one. You can remove it if you don't want to have it anymore. You see to the left there's a little eye here. This, if you hover on it, will give you a snapshot of all of the different parameters for that particular template. And you'll find in NinjaTrader 8 throughout the product there is this I, which obviously stands for information, icon all over the place if you need to get some quick information. So let me just hit play. So now we're playing Market Replay, and again, the look and feel is more or less the same, but there is definitely some polish or some just kind of evolved look and feel. So a few things to point out. If you want to resize your DOM, you can simply do so by moving it up or down. We'll add more rows or take more rows away. If you recall in NinjaTrader 7, you actually had a set of property for that. The order flags, work in the same manner, although they look a little bit differently. They've got a more of a polished look. There's a limit order MIT. You just would hit Control and left mouse click. So that's what an MIT looks like. And there's the interface for entering a stop limit order and then a stop market order. So again, the usability is the same. The order flags look a little bit refined. All these colors, of course, are configurable as you would expect. And let me cancel all these orders. If I right-click, select Properties, we did add a number of market depth levels. So I have it defaulted to 5, which is the maximum number you see in NinjaTrader 7. But if you want 10, you could set it to 10 if you want. And you can see the layout of the properties, again, is very similar to NinjaTrader 7. Hit OK. And there you can see NinjaTrader DOM with 10. So some major changes. Let me go ahead and right-click and select Columns. And here we have, by default, 3 available additional columns you can add to the SuperDOM. I've got we're calling it a cumulative volume. I think we're actually going to rename that just a volume. I'm going to add that. And on the right side, you can see the various different parameters that you can set. Let me just change a few real quick here. Now, this volume profile has a couple of different modes. You can just see the actual amount of volumes set off at each price row, or you can display it in a buy-sell pattern, which would then break out the trades and color them either, whatever color you set, whether it's red or green for buy, red for buy, or pardon me, I think it's red for sells, green for buys. So some people call it split volume, cumulative volume, whatever you want to call it. It'll split out the volume according to the different colors you set. I'm going to add a P&L column. And let me change a few colors on here as well, just so it shows up better. And I'm also going to add this notes column that we have as well. And let me move this up. Hit OK. Let me actually, I'm going to replay the playback here. And I'm going to, as you can see here, adding those columns, the DOM looks a little funny because we added those columns into a fixed width DOM. So I've got to increase the size here. I can reduce the size of my price letter, reduce the size of my P&L column, maybe make my cumulative volume column a little bit bigger. And this is what, did I just change something here? Well, I think you guys caught me with a, let's see, there we go. Okay, so the way it basically works is that these columns are all configurable and they're resizable. And more importantly, and this is going to kind of dive into the NinjaScript stuff, these columns are NinjaScript price rows. You will see a solid bar in the upper, I'm not sure, 20% of the cell, for example. So you're not going to see SMA 20. There's not a lot of visual real estate to be able to apply that kind of stuff. But if you know that you're going to have a purple SMA, you would see a purple bar at the corresponding row.
Hey Ray.
Yep.
My system blue screened. That's the first time that's happened in a couple of years of all times. So I don't know if there was anything super critical in the last 2.5 minutes. It's not going to be in the recording if so, because I was rebooting. So if you want to say something for the recording, you'll need to repeat it real quick.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I think the last 2 minutes I really just talked about the position column, and I'm not sure how far back it was, but one of the points I simply made was that NinjaScript, or these columns, are driven by NinjaScript. They're exposed, and people can program them. I changed the volume column from, oh, hold on a sec, I just got a cha-ching here for the auto trail kicked in. Let me just close this here. and I showed the different buy-sell version of the volume column versus just a standard volume column, and I believe that was it. So let's see. I think, oh yeah, and then indicators. I'm not sure how much of that was covered, so let me just restate that. We have the ability to add columns, as I've shown. We have the ability to add indicators in the DOM, although I can't show that today since it's not completed. But the basic idea is that anybody can add any indicator available just like a standard chart indicator. And you pick your indicator, you pick the underlying bar series, and that would get displayed as a bar in the, I think it's the upper 20% of a corresponding price cell. So I will, because we don't have a lot of time today, I just wanted to provide a pretty high-level overview. Oh, actually, I'm showing the static SuperDOM. One change I would like to mention with the dynamic SuperDOM, because I think we're at about 60% of those of our users are now trading on the dynamic DOM. There is a difference, which is a significant one, but one easily reverted if people don't like it. And that has to do with how you interface or trigger the hold mechanism of the price ladder. For those of you trading static, you might not know what I mean, but those dynamic users do. So with NT7, you either have to click on the hold label or button or press the spacebar, I believe, to get the dynamic DOM to hold. With NT8, we've changed that, and we've done away with that. And the way it works is as soon as you move your mouse into the price ladder, it will automatically hold. So you don't have to press anything other than move your mouse into the price ladder, which you want to do anyways because you're going to place an order. Again, this is very easily revertible, or we can even make it optionable, but I thought as a starting point I would try this out to see. I personally find it a better usability and better use model. I'm hoping our customers would, but if they come back and say no, we want the old method, we could always reintroduce that. That's not a big deal. So I just wanted to make that point, and with that, I'm happy to take questions on the NinjaTrader 8 SuperDOM.
Okay. All right, guys. So go ahead and type some questions if you have any. Let's take a look at what we have. All right, David wants to know, can the simulator use actual historical data if you hit the, and also if you hit the close button to kill a trade, how many ticks do you drop?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure I understand. I guess the simulator is using historical data in a sense that think of it this way. We have a simulator algorithm engine, whatever you want to call it, in our application. And that simulator uses market data, and it doesn't know whether that market data is coming from a real-time feed or from our playback/market replay feed, because to it, it's just receiving data in the same manner, whether independent of what the connection is. So my point is simply that if you're connected to playback, the simulation algorithm is working in the same way as it would if it was real-time data.
Okay. JL is asking, is there a way to split up two lots in one target from the ATM?
Is there an ability to split up two lots from one target? Yes, we have that ability in NinjaTrader 7. And if unless I'm misunderstanding the question, you can basically split targets with NinjaTrader 7. It's in the help guide. I can't recall, it's an 800-page help guide exactly what topic to look for. But if you can't find it, fire in an email to support@ninjatrader.com, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction rather quickly.
Okay. Just to reiterate, MIT stands for Market If Touched, for you guys that were asking me about that. So, Ray, do you want to explain basically what happens with an MIT order?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really simple to understand. Simply put, think of it like a stop market order, except on the other side of the market. So if you wanted to place a buy stop order, and I'll do that right now, it looks something like this. If I try to place that stop order below the market, that buy stop below the market, it gets rejected by the exchange, or even before the exchange by any broker technology that might actually reject it before even sending it through to the exchange. It's not a valid order. MIT is a way to basically do the same thing, but on the other side of the market. So when I place an MIT order, basically all it does, as soon as the market trades at that price, which is in my screenshot, not screenshot, but in what you guys are seeing, it is 1789.75. As soon as it ticks at that level one time, that becomes a market order and gets filled with whatever potential slippage or price improvement you might get. It's a market order. I hope that explanation was clear.
Sure. Tony is asking if you can arrange the columns in any order from left to right.
Good question, and here's the answer. The columns to the right of what we call the price ladder, that's the main order entry, the buy, price, and sell column. You cannot manipulate those other than changing the size like I'm doing right now. You can't change the buy and move it to the right of the sell, and the reason is it has to do with the visuals of these order flags being set on top and the stop and targets. It's just there's no way for us to be able to provide the consistent usability without locking down those columns. The columns to the right, the P&L, cumulative volume, or notes, those are all configurable, sizable. So the way you do that is under the columns dialog. You'll see here under the left box where it says configured, I have my 3 applied columns, and you can see here I can add, remove, move them up or down. You can have 20 columns, 1 column, however you want. So you have complete flexibility there.
Okay. TZ asking how many domes can be open at once?
The answer is infinite, but obviously directly tied to resources on your PC.
Tim.
No limits. Sorry, go ahead.
Tim wants to know if the market, if touched order resides on the exchange, on the broker server, or on the local PC.
That's a good question. It is local PC. Most broker technologies that we support don't support MIT orders. And the best of my knowledge, MIT orders are synthetic, meaning they're not exchange provided anyway. So most brokerage technologies don't support that. So it's locally simulated on your PC.
Al is asking if you can drag the columns around to rearrange the order, I think.
You cannot. You can only do it through that dialog window that I showed you.
Okay. Lawrence wants to know how many CPU cores work best.
I guess the simple answer is as many as you can throw at it. NinjaTrader 8 is a multi-threaded user interface, and just to be clear on what that means is that if you have, let's just say, 4 cores on your machine, NinjaTrader will use all 4 cores for its UI, meaning there will be 4 separate user interface threads. And thus you could, for example, this is not, don't take my word for it, but something like this, just as a layman's explanation. If you open up a chart, a DOM, a time and sales, another chart, it's conceivable that all 4 of those windows will be on 4 separate user threads. So the short of it is the more CPUs that you have, the more distributed the load is, which is a good thing.
Okay. Gary is asking about documentation for developing the custom column objects that are going to be public and accessible. Is there, I think you mentioned that there's going to be documentation, is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Lawrence asking about the graphic card. Really, the charts and stuff shouldn't be graphics intensive, so I don't really think that would matter, Lawrence. It's not like a game, where you need a high-end video card. Mark is asking if you have the ability to add volume buttons rather than having to scroll.
Volume buttons rather than having to scroll.
I'm not sure what that means either.
Okay.
Maybe he's talking about the quantity button, like a dial pad or a quick.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that. That's a pretty important thing. Okay, so check this out. So if I middle click in the quantity field, I get, I guess I can't remember what we called this, but let's just call it a quantity pad, which is configurable. So I can, for example, just +1, +50, or that's the right side, that's the numbers with the plus side, or on the left side, I can just select, hey, I want 100, and then it closes and 100 pops in there. And then if I click configure, this is where you can set up, as many quantities as you want for what we call quick or increment. The quick is just you select the number and it pops in. Increment is the, adding, by 1 or by 10 or whatever. So it's completely configurable and available on this quantity selector. So it's glad somebody brought it up because that was worth showing.
He's also asking if you can make that like sticky where it stays open all the time.
The answer to that is no.
Pete asking if there are improvements in accuracy for backtesting longer time frames, not market replay.
Yes.
I'm surprised it took this long. David's asking, when is NinjaTrader 8 going to be released to everybody?
And I will answer that once we're done with the dome.
Okay. TZ wants to know if he can switch the buy-sell buttons to the right side of the dome.
Actually, you can't. Interesting. In our design, we never even thought about that. And I'm trying to think. Actually, pardon me. I think we did, and it was related. It was quickly shut down because it was related to how these columns work or something. I can't remember exactly, but I guess the answer is no.
Okay. That's actually the last question that's on the screen right now.
Okay, excellent. And we can always circle back if any questions come up. So let me close this down, and let me close that down as well. Go back to my presentation here, and let me go full screen on this. Give me a sec. I know it's somewhere. Page display. There's somewhere there. Oh, there's. Okay, it's right in there. There we go. Okay. So, I guess NinjaTrader is by far the most widely used trading platform for retail futures traders, and I want to just personally thank you guys, the community, for your contributions over the year for helping us achieve our leadership position. There are many reasons that I feel have led to our success, which is including but not limited to, having a good product, great support, a good distribution model, great partners, and a really active and engaged community. 10 years ago, when we started, the idea of extending the platform came in the form of, or pardon me, I should say, 10 years ago, general ideas of how trading platforms worked for extendability came in the form of proprietary scripting languages. TradeStation's Easy Language obviously comes to mind, and predominantly focused on producing charting indicators or trading systems or strategies. At the time, myself and my partner, Dirk, we felt that the approach was limiting and also not reflective of the modern technology available, specifically .NET. And as a result, we were the first ones to popularize the use of C#, .NET. What is that thing? Hold on a sec. Windows detected computer performance is slow. Okay, I don't know what that is. Give me a sec. Keep current color scheme. Okay. Never seen that one before. Let me know. I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm assuming everybody can still hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I guess what I was saying is we were the first ones to popularize the C#.NET using a true event-based programming model for indicator and strategy development. And as you guys all know, our development community, to me, is first-rate in the depth and breadth of the add-ons, indicators, strategies, applications that are available, both user-submitted and commercially, is to me just simply amazing. It still blows my mind how much stuff is available, third-party for our platform. And my point really is just simple: is that we took a risk a long time ago by taking a non-proven approach and attempting to provide modern and higher levels of indicator and strategy development, and I believe we succeeded. And what I see now is that there's others following. A lot of our competitors have gone the .NET route or have come out with .NET products. So it to me is just a testament that we made the right decision a long time ago. So how that relates to NinjaTrader 8 was that one of our design goals was that we wanted to push the boundaries of what we labeled as officially supported. That was, let's say, years ago when we started down this NinjaTrader 8 path, but this summer we expanded this idea by reflecting on everything that I just talked about, meaning our past decisions to be pioneers in the industry. And what we decided was to make NinjaTrader 8 a true platform for trading application development. The idea simply was to expose as many aspects of our underlying framework as possible in order to enable developers to build rich and integrated trading applications within the NinjaTrader platform, limited only by their imagination. I personally feel that this approach is in the best interest of all our stakeholders. But in order to do that, I've had to deliberately push back NinjaTrader 8 release. And this, in addition, was coupled by a few business opportunities that popped up here back around the summertime that required me to also temporarily reallocate our development resources. We were originally trying to get a public version out around this time, and we're actually really not far off by any stretch right now. What I can tell you is that the last major piece we're currently working on right now is charts. There's a few loose ends here and there, like the indicator implementation in the DOM. There's some alerting things that we're working on, and just loose ends here and there. But right now, charts is the last remaining thing that we're working on, and so we expect to have something soon, and I guess the point simply is we're at the tail end of the development process. So that being said, the next part of today's presentation is to present clear ideas of how we are expanding NinjaScript and providing some color around expected changes so that those of you who do develop at least have a clear idea of what we're putting into the product, where the changes might be, and I'm here to answer questions, of course. So any questions on what I just said? If not, I'll just dive in.
There's a couple questions that are not related. There is one here. David's asking if, well, I would say actually no. None of them are really related to what you said. Okay. So if you want to open it up in general, or you want to wait?
No, let's wait. Let's get into the NinjaScript stuff. So,
okay. Well, let me just ask David, because it's it's NinjaScript. He wants to know if the current third-party indicators are going to work with Ninja 8. So we could start with that.
I guess the answer, I do answer that in an upcoming slide.
Okay.
But I'll just make the statement now. NinjaTrader 7 NinjaScript objects, whether they're indicators, strategies, or what have you, are not directly compatible with NinjaTrader 8, which is no different than what we went through with NinjaTrader 6.5 to NinjaTrader 7, simply meaning that you can't take a NinjaTrader 7 indicator and simply import it into NinjaTrader 8. That won't work. And part of this discussion today is to give those people an idea of what's all involved of making them work in NinjaTrader 8. And that is highly dependent on what the original developer has done. If it's something simple, like, for example, a NinjaTrader, I'll give you a good example. Let's say a SMA indicator, our simple moving average indicator. The change to convert that from NinjaTrader 7 to NinjaTrader 8 is, I don't know, 4 minutes, 5 minutes worth of work. In fact, most of our system indicators all fell in that scope, 5 minutes worth of work, with the exception of indicators that we rewrote independent of changes that we made to make the performance better. That we would have done that with NinjaTrader 7 anyways. So it's, like I said, the simple or basic stuff, it's a quick conversion. But I will get into more specifics in a little bit. So hopefully that provided at least a very clear answer that they're not compatible. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and probably the biggest thing from my perspective, is we are going to introduce, I call it low-level NinjaScript for now. We're going to keep it under the NinjaScript brand, but this is really targeted towards advanced developers. And the functionality we're releasing is targeted for people who want to be able to develop a truly integrated application and use our framework for doing so. And when I mean truly integrated application, specifically is, they can open up NinjaTrader, go to the new menu, and just like they select new chart, they would select, for example, new my custom window. And whatever people want to build, there's absolutely no limitations on what you can build, and I'll get into that here as we go through some of the functionality that we're opening up. The first thing I want to talk about is the area of user interface. So we have a NT window class, a NinjaTrader tabs class, workspace interface, controls. All of those are going to be exposed so that you, the developer, have the ability to basically inject a window into the NinjaTrader application, and it looks, smells, behaves, saves to workspaces. The tabs work just like NinjaTrader tabs. So to the actual consumer or the user, it's the usability and experience is no different than any of our own NinjaTrader windows. And so let me give an example. Let's say that I was a third-party developer or just a developer, and I wanted to build, I don't know, a market scanner, and have my own graphics or charts or whatever. You could do that. I mean, like I said, there's no limitations, and you can embed this into NinjaTrader. We're going to make available all of our controls. I should say, let me restate that, a lot of our controls. I can't say that we're going to do all of our controls, but a lot of our controls. So, for example, link button, instrument selector, account selector, and the instrument selector has a lot of functionality into it. Let me just, I think I still have NinjaTrader running. Give me a sec. Actually, I've closed it down. Let me bring it back up. So the controls like a account selector, which automatically populate with all the available trading accounts. If it's simulation only, you won't have access to the live trading accounts. This is all, of course, taken care of for you. If I open up just real quick, let's see. I'll just open up this order ticket. Give me a sec to connect up to something here. So here I'm clicking on our instrument selector. There's a lot of logic built into this instrument selector, so there's no need for a developer to worry about figuring out the right interface to present instruments to its target audience. You can obviously use what we've built. Same thing with the quantity selector. That quantity pad that I showed you, is available. So again, you've got all this functionality built in. We're also going to provide a fixed user ID on, not user ID, pardon me, UI ID on every component within the interface collection. So, if, for example, a developer wanted to intervene and attach some sort of event handler. Here's a good example. When I press buy on the SuperDOM, I want to do something after the order is placed. Do something could be anything you want, right? Just whatever, do something. So you'll have the ability to locate that particular button on the SuperDOM and attach, event handler to that and do what you want. You can also use this to do automation, macros, for example. So if you wanted to have write some sort of a macro that simulated button clicks, for example, user interface button clicks, you could do that because we're going to provide you, the information necessary to be able to get that done. Properties window is another example with all the logic with presets and stuff. So that's what I mean when I say integrated application. The user interface is a key component of that, and being able to work within our framework so that the windows that you build literally work in harmony with NinjaTrader. So in addition to that, obviously we need to provide other types of access so that you can build whatever you want, whether it's a new order entry interface or a scanner, like I said, a chart for you want to build your own chart if you want. So we also provide access for connection handling, access to account data, which is account balances, account orders. That would be the equivalent of, in a strategy, we have the ability, I think it's on order update. Same concept, except it's not limited to the strategy, but it's it's open to every single connection, every single account within that connection, and all orders within those accounts. Same goes for executions and positions. Market data. Actually, let me go back up. Right. Okay. Market data. Same concept. You can subscribe to level 1 market data, market depth, historical data, meaning you can request, I need 1 minute series from the last 2 months of Microsoft, and you'll get back a bars object. It'll update in real time for you. So that's what I mean. You could build a chart if you want. Fundamental data, excuse me, and news. So those are all of the low-level or raw classes that one would need to build really a trading application, whatever it is you want, and that's what I mean by going deeper and providing a real development environment that allows you to build whatever it is you want, limited only by your imagination. Let me stop there, Mike, and I'll take any questions on what I just discussed before I get into NinjaScript kind of legacy stuff.
Okay. Backing up to before I blue screened, I think you were talking about NinjaTrader 8 using multiple cores. Jim is asking if you can expand and compare the changes in performance between NT7 and NT8.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way I could explain it is this. If you take the user interface out of the equation, NT8 performance is much better than NinjaTrader 7 is. When you put the user interface on it, the user interface is driven by WPF. And let me just make a quick statement on that for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, and for those of you who might not even know what I'm talking about. For Microsoft, there are 2 technologies. The legacy technology is called WinForms. NinjaTrader 7 graphics or user interface is based off of WinForms. WinForms is a dead technology. It's not changing. It's dead. The shelf life is as long as people continue to use it. WPF is the, let's just call it, next generation technology for doing user interface. And that's what NinjaTrader 8 is based off of. And this is where anybody building new desktop applications, that's primarily what people should be using, and most people are using. And WPF as a technology has a higher performance load than WinForms as a technology. Again, independent of NinjaTrader. And so as we put on the WPF layer, just in general, there's a higher performance. And to put this in perspective, it's not, I'm not saying, oh, okay, you're going to see a 2% CPU load with WinForms, and now it's 50%. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying in general, it's more expensive. So, and I'm sorry, I had to put a cough drop in my mouth because I like Mike too, have a cold, and it's kind of coincidental. Every time I do a big mic presentation, I have this cold, and so my throat's starting to get really dry, and so I don't want to start coughing into the mic all the time. So please bear with me. So. So the WPF again is more expensive as a technology, but since we're distributing the load across multiple cores, we get the benefit, of course, of those additional cores. So overall, NinjaTrader 8 is higher performing than NinjaTrader 7. So, but I will state this. In NinjaTrader 7, NinjaTrader 7 is a multi-threaded application, but the user interface is on a single thread. And so what you might see, and I'm making numbers up here, okay? So what you might see is in NinjaTrader 7, let's say you saw 5% load, right? In NinjaTrader 8, if you open up your task manager, you might see 10% load. But that 10% is actually distributed, optimally 2.5% on 4 cores if you had a 4-core machine. So each individual core is actually doing less work than what one core did in NinjaTrader 7. Is that, you think that answers the question?
Yeah. And you're wanting to stay on mainly on NinjaScript, right? We're not opening it up for everything just yet?
Yeah, just
okay.
The NinjaScript stuff, the low-level stuff I just talked about, because
okay.
I'm going to dive into the other NinjaScript stuff in a sec.
Okay, Pete asking about the debugging of NinjaScript. Any improvements in this area?
Yes. There is, I just realized why. Give me a sec, guys, because I think my power. Oh, no, we're okay. Yes, there is a couple of different enhancements. One, let me just open up the NinjaScript output window. You can see here we've got an output window with 2 tabs, output 1 and output 2. Real simple change for us, but you now have the ability to print output to either 1 or 2 tabs, or one of these 2 tabs, just to try to separate things out a little bit. That's one area of enhancement. The second area of enhancement is we are, and I can't remember the latest on this is, but we did some work to allow work in Visual Studio in tandem with using NinjaTrader, and if you make changes in the Visual Studio, somehow they're I don't even want to. I think it's above my pay grade at this point in time to talk about how that integration works. But there's some higher level of integration with Visual Studio. That's probably the best way to explain it.
Okay. I think this is still in the NinjaScript category. TZ asking about the strategy wizard. Yeah.
Okay. Strategy wizard. There's a couple of things you're going to see. First of all, we have what we call let's call it a skeleton builder. So we're going to have a lot of different NinjaScript objects that we're going to support officially. And when you want to code these things, you'll go into the editor and you'll pop up a wizard and it'll say something like, what do you want to build? Indicator strategy, SuperDOM column, and it'll walk you through and give you a code skeleton so that you can start coding with. So that's one thing. For non-programmers, we are improving the visual strategy builder. I think we're calling it strategy builder to be more comprehensive than the NinjaTrader 7 strategy builder. This particular feature, I'm not sure at this time if it's going to make it for beta. So because this is one of those features that is tagged as non-critical, we're actually just finishing up, the product management team is just finishing up the specification on this, and it'll be thrown to development, and likely it'll probably be introduced sometime during the beta phase. I'm just saying it's not going to be available as soon as we make it publicly available, but we anticipate having it for production. But so anyways, there's the answer on that.
Mark asking, is there the ability to do things like embed a button in the market analyzer that when clicked would launch a strategy for that instrument?
Absolutely.
Okay. Greg asking if there's communication between strategies. Is that possible?
Not with anything that we've created. We haven't provided any classes, methods, properties to enable something like that.
But there's, I mean, I know people are doing that already with Ninja 7. So Greg, you can look around for help on that. Just with C#.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's what. Thanks for that, Mike. That's what I meant, is that we don't do it, but you could do it, and I was going to say that.
Right. Greg also asking if there are changes to the iOrders object. Is it now inheriting from the iEnumerable class?
Good question, Greg. Actually, I've got that. Let me hold off on that because it's part of other things I'm going to talk a slide or two downstream.
Okay. I'm trying to stick with just the NinjaScript stuff or the stuff that you've covered. Doug asking if there are event notifications on tick downloads. I'm not sure if he's talking about that he can access as a programmer or if he just means from a GUI standpoint.
I'm going to take the assumption, since we're talking programming, that it's a programming question. Simply put, the answer is yes. There's, when you request bars, you get a bars object back in return, and you can then subscribe to a bars update event, which then gets raised every time new bars are added or bars have changed. So as each real-time tick comes in that updates a bar, you get that event fired.
Okay. Trader Joe asking if he can use the expanded NinjaScript to show or hide tabs or windows and move tabs between different windows.
We don't support moving tabs between different windows. What you can basically do, and this is definitely lower level than I'm versed in, but simply put, the tab functionality has, we have, tabs that have functionality, and I don't know what you can and cannot do programmatically with them. I only really understand what you can do from a user interface standpoint, and I know that we don't support moving a tab from one window to another window. Part of that has to do with how multi-threading across UIs work. The short of answer is you can't take an object and if window A is on thread A and window B is on thread B, you can't take a tab from window A and throw it on window B unless you do some sort of serialization and rebuild it in window B. And anyways, that's might be a little bit more answer, but the answer is you can't do that. And I don't know all the features of the tab class itself.
So guys, we're trying to stick mainly to NinjaScript right now. There's going to be an open Q&A later, right?
Okay, let's do this because we're at the hour mark already. Let me drive down the road here a little bit. Okay, so supported NinjaScript objects. Here's what we know right now. We're going to officially support historical data importers. These are actually exposed already in NinjaScript. We just don't provide any documentation. So if anybody wants to write their own, importer for any type of format, you can do that. Optimizer fitness types, we already support. We expose that. This is like max drawdown, net profit, things like that. We just don't document that. We are going to officially support that. Optimizers, again, there have been some of you who have written, your own genetic optimizer, for example. We're going to document that so that we encourage people writing some, who knows, particle swarm optimizer, who knows what other approaches there might be. Strategy analyzer performance metrics. This is your request, Mike. This is on the strategy analyzer summary page. All of the metrics that show up there, we pulled that out and provided a way for people to build their own metrics.
Very nice.
Share adapters. This is a new feature for NinjaTrader 8. Simply put, all, if not all, most windows are going to have like right-click share, and different windows will share different things. So a chart, for example, obviously would share an image, and then you can share it to whatever destination you want. By default, we're going to have email, which is pretty straightforward, Facebook, Twitter, and stock twits. Those are the 4, let's say, adapters that or options that you will be able to share data from NinjaTrader out to. And these adapters, again, are NinjaScript objects. They'll be fully documented. So as an example, Mike, I don't know where things are at, but you've got that charting API or chart image API, right?
Yep. Yep.
So so you could do something like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Any of the programmers could just do it right now, and they could post on BMT. So that's cool.
Strategies, obviously, that's a given. SuperDOM columns, showed you guys the 3 examples we'll ship with the product. Market analyzer columns, that's always been a NinjaScript object. The only difference now is we're going to document and support that. Application skins, this is really a cosmetic thing. I just don't know if people will take the time to make a jungle colored version of NinjaTrader. Who knows? But it's going to be exposed out there. So on charts, indicators a given, bar types, we're going to support that officially. Chart styles, chart style is whether it's a line, a candlestick, a mountain, which is new for NinjaTrader 8. Plot styles, that's new for NinjaTrader 8. We're going to expose that as a NinjaScript object. Chart markers, this is right-click, and you can put on arrows. I can't remember all the different chart markers we have, but little items to mark your charts. Drawing tools, I think this one, in my opinion, is very interesting. So all of our drawing tools will be exposed as NinjaTrader objects, which then allows you to build unique drawing tools. So I can already think of some really unique Fibonacci type stuff or Elliott wave type analysis stuff that we may not have out of the box right now, but would allow people to build these tools. On render, this is the equivalent to NinjaTrader 7's on plot, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a subsequent slide. We are also going to support chart control. So this, again, is some more advanced stuff, but we have in NinjaTrader 7 an object called chart control, and on that chart control there are a number of properties and methods. Getting brush colors, I just threw a couple of them on there as an example. Axis color, margin bottom, margin right, canvas left, canvas right. There's a ton of them. So this will be documented and supported. And this generally is useful for people who are doing custom painting or custom drawing on NinjaTrader 7 on plot method. So this gives you an idea of the expansion and the depth and breadth, I guess, of what we're looking or what we will be supporting in the NinjaScript space. And the basic, again, idea is that whether you just want to build a simple indicator or you want to go and build your own application. I say application because it could be anything from an order entry window to a chart to whatever you want. The NinjaTrader platform is going to enable that, and for developers, it's really an open canvas, so to speak. Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you've impressed me, Ray, and that's not easy.
All right.
Good job, man.
So what changes can you expect? As I had said earlier, NinjaScript 7 objects will not import into NinjaTrader 8. And I want to just take a brief moment to give you guys my thoughts on that. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because obviously all of those developers, whether you're building your own stuff or commercial developers, the quick thing is, wow, okay, so I got to rewrite my stuff, and now it's not compatible. It's extra work, and it's inconvenient, and yes, you're right, all of the above. But what do you get? Well, the problem is if you try to make things compatible, in my opinion, you hinder your ability to do the things you want in the way it really probably should be done, because you've got to cater to preserving legacy stuff. So our thought was never, let's just redo everything and not care about what anybody else built. That's definitely not the case. We have preserved as much stuff as we can, and like I said, from a simple perspective, indicators and stuff, the syntax changes are really minimal, and it's a minutes kind of thing. If you've built something where you've ventured into what we call unsupported territory, I can't even tell you what may or may not break, because again, it was never supported in the first place. But if you're in that area, I can't tell you what has changed. If you're doing things where you're drawing custom stuff, here's a good example. Let's say there's some of you who have written, I've seen, like market profile tools, right? There's some third-party commercial available. I've seen some self-coded ones. That requires coding in the NinjaTrader 7 indicator plot method. And because the plot method uses WinForms and NinjaTrader 8 on render, just as the name change uses WPF, it's a completely different technology, so you have to expect that it's completely different. It's a rewrite for you guys. However, the concept is the same, and what I mean by that is the way that NinjaTrader 7 chart plotting works. Although it's WPF, conceptually it's doing the same thing as NinjaTrader 7. Hopefully I said that right. So my philosophy and thought was always, NinjaTrader 7 is started in 03, and the reality is it probably will have a shelf life for, I don't know if it's another 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. But let's even go to the outside of that and say it's another 5 years. So we're at 2018, so we've got a 15-year-old product out there, right, by the time it's dead. So if you take a look at NinjaTrader 8, which is really a next-generation platform that's going to take us for the next, let's say, 15 years, now we're at 2028, right? And so to me, we got to do it the way that we feel it's right to do it today, and as a result, we made changes, thoughtful changes, that we believe will be the right thing to do for another 15 years. And so as a result, like we did with NinjaTrader 6.5 to 7, we will publish a comprehensive code-breaking changes document, and it will contain things like this. So, and this, what I've put on these slides, is not everything. It's just some examples that I wanted to provide you so you guys got a sense of things that might be coming. So any type of bool property, such as overlay or auto scale, has been renamed to have is in front of it. Again, it's a pretty straightforward thing. So if you said overlay equals true, you'd now have to change overlay and put an is in front of it. So that's a pretty trivial thing. So and that's across the board. So if there's, I don't know how many, 100 different bool properties, they all would have this minor change. We've replaced a number of different things. Calculate on bar close, I bring that up because that's probably the biggest one. It's a quick change. What we did, instead of calculate on bar close being true or false, it's now calculate with 3 modes: on bar close, on price change, or on each tick. So the change is pretty simple, but there is obviously some logic behind it. The next, probably the biggest one, the most work that you'll have to do, in NT7 we have the initialize method, and then we also have additional methods on startup, on termination, that most people probably didn't use. And all of this has been wrapped into one new method call called onStateChanged. And that will fire every time the state of an object changes. And the states, I can't remember exactly, there might be 5 or 6 different states. There's state 1 is set defaults, and there's state configure, state historical, and so forth. And we're going to put clear, obviously, documentation on what each state means, what you would do in each state, and all NinjaScript objects, whether it's a SuperDOM column or a market analyzer column, all have this logic. So basically, from a programmer standpoint, we have a I can't remember what the class name is called. Let's just call it NinjaScript base. And this NinjaScript base has this on-state change method, and a SuperDOM column inherits from NinjaScript base as does strategy, as does indicator, and so forth. A couple of other examples. We have add method, which you can then pass in a new plot or a line. We've broken those out. I can't remember exactly the reason why, and we do track the reasons why. I just don't know off the top of my head. Change to add plot, add line. Again, minor things here in terms of making the changes. Grid category and description on properties, for example, are replaced by new .NET 4.0 attributes, as well as they're localized as well. So with NinjaTrader 8, as some of you may already know, it's regionalizable, and we I guess support that through various different aspects of the product. Next page, on order update, on execution update, on position update, all have new signatures. Somebody had asked what's happening with the I order, I execution, I position interfaces. They're being replaced. So on order update, instead of passing back a I order interface, it actually passes back the order object itself. So we're just passing back the actual internal order object that we're using throughout the product, and getting rid of the kind of additional layer that exists there in NinjaTrader 7. And again, that's true with executions, positions. Plot turned into on render, and this is, I guess I talked about this before regarding the fact that the technology is changing from WinForms to WPF, but conceptually is the same. I think for most people, advanced programmers, this is going to be the area, if you programmed indicators that are doing custom plotting, which is definitely not the majority, it definitely is a minority, but this is the brunt of probably where the effort's going to be if you have to recode it into Ninja, or if you're going to recode it in NinjaTrader 8, will be in this particular method. And then there are a number of logic changes here or there. Somebody asked about the back testing. Is it going to be more accurate? The answer I said was yes. Without getting into the logic, the short of it is there's a number of different approaches that are taken to provide a higher level of fidelity when it comes to running backtests. And we'll document all that as well, of course, when we release a product. And there's also some changes around the sequence and how to add custom data series. And this ties back to the on-state changed method. There's definitely different states where you would want to do something, and if you did something in the incorrect state, there could be adverse behaviors, and we'll again spell that out in documentation that we put forth. So I think, yeah, that was the end of the slide. Like I said, there's definitely a lot more itemized items, but I just wanted to give the development community an idea of where the changes are forthcoming and highlight some of the more, what I felt, important changes that you guys just need to be aware of. So yep. With that said, I'll take questions.
Yeah, I think this is great. Good job, Ray. Very good job. All right, guys. Let's just try to run through some general questions. I know one came up multiple times. I can't remember who asked, but basically the ability to write your own data feed connector.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and here's the answer on that. Our ability to distribute and partner with strategic partners is dependent on market data feed and brokerage adapters. So meaning, I have very strong relationships, as you guys know, with partners such as Mirus and AMP, FXCM, and I don't want to dilute those relationships. It's just as important as having a community and active users. I also have to have the brokerage partners at the same time, or the market data partners. If I open up the data feed and brokerage adapters to allowing anybody to connect to anything they want, I dilute and undermine that part of my business strategy, and that's why we never do it.
Okay. Eduardo asking if he could create a window that would basically be like a chart in the center, and then it's got a dock off the side of it, maybe like his own version of a custom chart trader, and then he could even maybe attach like his own version of a SuperDOM to it. Is that, all those things are possible?
Anything is really possible. I mean, yes. I can't answer. I'm not saying it's easy, but we provide you the access and the exposure. You can grab a window, grab a button, change the button. I mean, you really, it's a little bit, how would I say it? It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, and what I mean by that is when we first introduced NinjaScript C#, my biggest concern at the time was, wow, okay, this is really access at runtime for anybody to code anything they want and write 2 lines of code and basically write a loop and cause NinjaTrader to hang. And that's going to happen, and everybody's going to say that NinjaTrader sucks. And that was my biggest fear. And the decision was, well, I think that the gain is going to be, the juice is worth the squeeze. And obviously, I think we were right on that. And it took a while because, right now, and Mike's community has been great for this as well. As people run into problems, most people come and say, hey, have you checked your code? Are you sure you haven't done some bad code, right? And 99% of performance issues here in our support team are always come back down to bad code. So where I'm getting at is the same thing here. We're providing, open access to the platform, and somebody could easily, grab a DOM, an open DOM, grab a button, and change the size of the button to be the size of the whole DOM. I mean, you could do stuff like that. And my point simply is that because you can do anything, the upside is, well, you can do anything, and my hope is that in time there's going to be in just really amazing applications built.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of creative people that are going to really take advantage of this. Greg is asking if compilation inside of Visual Studio is going to be enough to run the code, or does it need to be recompiled inside of NT?
Greg, I wish I could answer that question for you. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Also, Greg asking if there's a way to dynamically add a new plot or object.
Ooh, I can't answer that, Greg. I remember discussing there was definitely some limitations around adding, and I can't remember if it was plots or data series or some limitations around that they need to be defined at I think like configuration stage, but I just can't answer that one. That was like a year and a half ago, and that's why I just don't recall exactly the details.
All right, guys, I'm reading questions from about 25 minutes ago, so please bear with us and don't repeat. Doug asking if there are any multi-threaded issues to be aware of.
Well, there's definitely, let me think about that. I guess I will defer that question until such time that we actually publish documentation and that we gather the collective know-how from our developers on threading issues that they've run into. Like I said, the one thing that I did mention that I was very well aware of was that the inability to take one UI object and move it to another thread, and that was the reason why I know that is because I wanted to have the ability to drag and drop a tab from one window to another window. That was part of my spec, and we were we ran into that limitation very early on. And one of the things I know we're doing as well to make things thread safe is with the, for example, the bars request or requesting market data, the methods that we will expose handle internal multi-threading issues, because it's possible that market data is coming in on one thread, but you subscribe on a UI thread that's a different thread, and somehow it's all, I guess, kind of shielded from you. But we would put something in documentation around all this anyways.
Dan is asking if portfolio level backtesting is going to be supported.
No.
Mark asking, well, he's saying that most of the new Intel chips are 4 cores or 8 threads with hyperthreading, but now there's 6 core, 12 threads. So is NT8 going to be able to take advantage of that?
I can't answer that.
Mark wanting to know if there's any new licensing changes for the NT vendor facility.
I know that there are some changes, Mark, around that, but I don't know specifics on that. And I don't believe, and I can't even say if they're breaking or not. I don't think they are, but I want to say there's improvements, because I know we went through a spec process on that, but I don't know the details on that.
Mr. Yu and a few others asking about mobile integration. So we had a webinar in the past on that, but I think at that point it was undecided about whether or not you would be able to run like custom indicators and such. Any comments on that?
Yeah, we have a mobile, I guess I'll just say a mobile interface that I guess the question is this: are we going to expose anything there? And that has not yet been discussed, only because the whole putting out our own mobile product is still something that is, I guess, in progress. We've done all of the communication. We have a proxy server that sits in between a mobile app and the NinjaTrader desktop running, wherever you're running it. Where it's stalled at this point in time, stalled meaning it's just on hold, is the actual user interface of the HTML5. We actually have it, but as we started looking at other interfaces, we decided to hold off to make sure we're designing it the right way.
And I mean, the good thing is that you can just write it yourself if you really want to. Several people asking, and sorry, I hope you can still hear me okay. My voice is just about gone. Several people asking .NET 4 or 4.5.
It's right now we're internally coding on .NET 4, and I'm just looking because the developer is right in front of my office, but my lead guy is not there, so I can't ask him if we're going to 4.5 or not. So I know we're on 4. I can't answer if we're going to 4.5.
Doug asking if bars since entry will be available in the market analyzer column.
Bars since entry. I know that we don't have a column that out of the box that provides a bar since entry. However, you could code that yourself in the market analyzer column. Because you have access to bars and you have access to positions, or executions. So it could be coded, but we don't have anything out of the box for that.
Jeffrey asking if there are improvements to the point and figure charting.
Good question, and the answer is not even at that point yet with the charts, meaning the exotics haven't even gotten there.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure that you're aware that exotic bar types have become very popular, and I would say one of the strengths of Ninja 7, since most other platforms can't do it. Any high-level ideas in this area, or you just no comment yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, okay. I can say that, just like NinjaTrader 7, you can do what you want. My dilemma always is, do I build something or do I rely on the community to build it, right? So a good example would be the oh boy, what are those called? The market profile charts, right? You know, there's a number of third-party applications out there, or I could build it myself and give it away for free, or I can build it myself and charge. I don't know on that yet. But what I can say is with NinjaScript, we are supporting chart styles and bar types officially. So whatever exotic, you know, if there's something we do that doesn't meet the demand, you know, it can always be done. Whether we do it or not, we can provide official support for doing that. That's one thing. And the second thing with charts is like point and figure, for example. One of the things, some of you may know this, with NinjaTrader 7, every trading session bar start new. And I don't know if well, let me restate it. So if you have a bar that spans across a session, right? So a bar starts on session 1, but it doesn't close until session 2. With NinjaTrader 7, we cut that bar and we start the session with a brand new set of bars. So we rebuild the bars for that session again. With NinjaTrader, and the reason I bring this up is point and figure, or maybe it wasn't. I think it was point and figure charts. They arguably you would want to start. You could have situations where bars cross over a session, and with NinjaTrader 8, we have the option for doing that. So meaning part of the one property on the data series is that you can set, do you start bars brand new for each trading session, or do they carry across trading sessions? I don't know if that helps a little bit, but
yeah. John asking if we can plot into the future on a chart.
Shoot, I should have had the answer for that one. I'm sorry. I know that one gets asked all the time. I want to say with NinjaTrader 7, the answer is no, I believe. And I want to say that with NinjaTrader 8, the answer still might be no, but don't hold me to that.
John asking if he can, I'm trying to understand, I think he's asking if he can have an indicator that through whatever method has drawn objects on the chart, can those objects persist if the indicator is removed?
I see. I don't believe we've changed any behavior there for NinjaTrader 8, so I guess the answer, at least to my understanding, is no.
Greg asking if we can still have our own strategy base inheriting the NT strategy base.
I don't see any reason why you couldn't. One thing, just with strategy class and NT8, it can draw on a chart, so it will have lines and plots and stuff.
Yay! All right. Luis asking, Windows 8.1 fully supported?
I can't, you know, we test the, let me think. I guess the answer is yes. You know, we do support Windows 8. I don't think Windows 8.1 is unsupported for us right now, so I don't see any reason.
Pete asking if third-party developers are going to have access to an alpha.
We're going to provide third-party developers access as soon as we can, and my preference would be earlier than everybody else. I can state that, but that's not a guarantee, because ultimately the timing of getting all this done and the documentation, you know, I don't see us necessarily having all the documentation ready months ahead of you know, of a beta.
I don't see anybody else asking this. I'm kind of surprised, so I'll ask. But is there any change to the obfuscation method, or are you locked into one particular vendor, or you know what I'm saying? Has that changed? Is there going to be a new purchase required in that front?
Hey, good question. The simple answer is yes. Here's what's going on. We work with a company called Secure Team, which provides a product CLI Secure, and we provide that. Well, they provide it to you guys for free, limited to protecting NinjaScript. We pay them for that. Obviously, you know, we pay them a yearly annual license. With NinjaTrader 8, we're working with them right now as we speak under a new licensing term, I should say, that brings all of their different technologies for protection. And we are going to provide, let's say, clear guidelines as to what we've tested, because under the protection they've got, let's just say, I'm going to pick 10 different features. You know, control flow obfuscation, virtual machine, this, you know, there's a number of different things. A lot of this stuff has performance penalties. So we've given them basically, you know, guidelines as to where the performance needs to be within, acceptable performance increases that we're willing to accept for various different protection mechanisms and features. So, for example, under licensing, I believe we're using a higher level of protection that is very costly in performance, but since it's a limited use at runtime, it doesn't matter if it's even twice as expensive in performance, right? Because you run it one time and you do a license check and it's done, for example. And but in order to get this higher level of features, basically the licensing terms have changed, and the way it works is simply this: anybody who wants to use this technology to protect their assemblies will need to pay CLI Secure an annual $100 fee, maintenance fee, let's call it. So you pay them $100 a year, and you get access to their product limited to NinjaTrader, but you got to pay them every year $100. And I personally, myself, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Sure.
And this is an $800 product. So I'm still paying, you know, a lot of money to them to get that price down.
Yeah, that sounds totally fine to me. AK asking if the code breaking changes, the document, if that's going to be released prior to the beta or not.
If we knew with certainty that what's in that document was not subject to change or limited change, then I have no problem putting that out there. And I did think about that today. So I guess I'll leave it at that. It's definitely on my mind because I definitely want to give you guys advance notice. But you know, right now, you know, we could say, oh, we want to change, you know, this name to that name. So until, you know, we're pretty comfortable,
Right.
I won't release it.
Gary asking kind of a follow-up. So is this document, this code-breaking document, is that going to just say this is what's broken, or is there going to be some sort of example on how to recode a particular function to NT8?
I would say that historically our documentation is pretty good, and we try to provide examples where we think they're needed. So I don't see that this document would be any different in terms of the spirit of how we document things. We haven't, you know, I have a document now with it, obviously, but it's pretty raw. And so, you know, anything self-explanatory will be self-explanatory. Anything like this on-state changed, for example, that's you know, you need to know how that works, and we'll definitely be documenting that pretty clearly.
Right. I'm surprised no one has asked, so I'll ask on behalf of everybody, the price, any price changes or licensing changes for the end user?
Not that we anticipate at this point in time.
Eric asking, can he have a separate data feed so that his chart and SuperDOM are independent of each other?
The answer is dependent on instrument type and data type, meaning you can't specify I want to have Microsoft in DOM A coming from feed A and Microsoft on chart coming from feed B. You can't do that. What you can do is say I want all futures instruments to use data feed A for real time and all stock instruments to use data feed B. Actually, let me double check that. Here, I'll just pull it up so you can, I guess I can answer it by visual. So basically on my screen you see under Tools Options. So if I want, let's say, futures, I want big tick, you know, but for stocks I want kinetic. That's how you would do it. And it's broken down by instrument type, as you can see, and then also by whether it's historical or real time.
Okay. TZ asking if Ninja 8 is going to be available in German, and let me ask a follow-up on his behalf. You mentioned the regionalization. Is this something that individual NT users can contribute, you know, localization strings to you in their native tongue, or how do you see that happening?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. We never talked about that here in development, so I don't even know if that's possible. But let me get to the German question. So here you can see you have language, and you then can select, you know, whatever available languages we have. So if I select German, I hit OK. I've got to restart it, since on restart it has to read a new resource file. It's where all the translation comes in, and now you get German. There you go.
Cool. Let's see. Greg, I'll go ahead and ask this question, but I think you answered it, Ray. So is there an open beta planned for NT8?
Yes.
Trader Joe asking, can you open some of the NT8 NinjaScript files to show them to us so we can see code examples?
Absolutely. Let me change back to English since my German is pretty rough. So here's our NinjaScript editor. The icons are those are going to change, and then you get this NinjaScript Explorer on the right, and you can you know, put in your own folders as well and stuff. So you've got more organization ability with NinjaScript. But let me just open up a SMA or EMA indicator here. Let me expand the screen. So here you can see, you know, I talked about on state changed. So here you can see, you know, just how this indicator, so, you know, well, I guess if somebody could take a screenshot and compare this indicator to the NinjaTrader 7 implementation, you would quickly see the difference, right? Obviously there's not a lot of code in here, but you get the idea here with the on state change and, you know, set defaults. And here you can see like this has to do this description equals, and this is pointing to a specific resource file for localization. And I can't remember, don't ask me questions on this because there's definitely some stuff related on here. And I should say, obviously coding, I suspect our help guide will never be changed to a local. I think we'll probably keep it in English since it's obviously programming in English.
Yeah. Mr. Yu asking if there's any type of a versioning system.
No, there's not.
Mark asking if he can license custom bar types and custom optimizers.
Mark, I assume he means through our vendor licensing?
Yeah.
I want to say yes, and I think that's part of the changes we made.
Greg wants to know when the public beta should be expected.
Same answer as I gave before, which which was we're at the tail end of development, and it's we're nearly there, and I just don't want to give you a committed date. I mean, I just want to say, it's important to us to get this out, but it's for as many people as I get, hey, we want to have NinjaTrader 8. I also get, hey, man, NinjaTrader 7, I'm good. Make sure you do it right. Don't rush it.
Speaking of that, I believe there was a question early on that I skipped because it wasn't about NinjaScript, and the question was, can I run NinjaTrader 7 and NinjaTrader 8 concurrently?
Yes, absolutely. We will allow you to run application concurrently, but I can't speak for those brokers who may or may not allow you to connect concurrently. Does that make sense? Yes.
Pete asking, is there okay, hang on. Let me read this. There is a vendor that enables execution of orders on their servers, possibly kinetic, but it's definitely not kinetic because you don't execute. But will this be available? Okay, I guess he's asking about OCOs. Any changes to brokerages that support OCO orders? Or native or server side, that's the word I'm looking for. Server side OCOs. It's always a hot topic. People always want to know where their orders are.
I see. Simple answer is nothing has changed between NinjaTrader 8 or NinjaTrader 7 in that respect. CQG has OCO order server side. BigTick does. I believe Senvire is going to be supporting that here shortly as well. Interactive Brokers does. So my point in saying that is that the bulk of our user base already has server-side OCOs.
Right. Jim wants to know any changes relative to running a 64-bit version of NT.
Nothing that sticks out in my mind at this time.
Doug wants to know if all of the toolbars and I guess ribbon interface or whatnot, those are all attachable or programmable. He can do whatever he wants with those, and you're going to document it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're not detachable. Well, I guess I can't even say that because I don't even know how how these objects are implemented. Because we've got, for example, in this NinjaScript editor, as you can see, we're putting icons in the actual caption bar, and I don't know how that's been implemented. But meaning is that a WPF toolbar or menu system? I just don't know. But what I do know is that all UI elements are accessible, thus allowing you to manipulate it how you see fit,
Right. Okay. Greg's asking, is there any change to overfills? So what do you call that with NT7, or unmanaged orders, right? Is that part of that?
Well, yeah, overfills occur, simply put, obviously when, let's say you have an OCO pair, and well, I say it in a different way. An overfill occurs when a order that you intended to or that you want to cancel gets filled. It's an unwanted fill, right? And with NinjaTrader 7, I think our standard behavior is we kill the strategy or something, terminate. And there's been discussion around that, or there had been, and I can't recall what changes we made in this area because the strategy. Specification implementation, I mean, this is literally almost 2 years ago. That's why if it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, I just don't recall because it was such a long time ago. And this project, NinjaTrader 8, there's just so much, so much going into this that it's just hard to remember all the nitty-gritty details, especially I don't do the product management detail by detail like I did with every version, including NinjaTrader 7. I have a team of 2 other people that take the lead, and I jump in kind of at the high level and make sure it's going in the direction I want it to. So I just don't recall the details on that.
Pete is asking, is there some type of I can't think of what this is called, but a line-by-line stepping system in the debugger so that he can go line by line in his code?
No, that's not possible with NinjaTrader directly.
Okay. Noah wanting to know if he'll be able to create separate replay accounts so that he can replay different markets simultaneously, but then analyze them separately.
Good question. Let me see. I'm just seeing if I could figure that out real quickly. I want to say no, because we didn't do that. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I believe we only allow one playback account. I just went to the location. I thought if we did support that, it would be here, but I only see simulation accounts. So I don't believe that's the case.
So here's a question for myself. You had mentioned one of the things that I asked for was the custom performance metrics and the backtest reports, but do those carry over to any of the reporting mechanisms?
No, it only shows up, and I might be not 100% clear, but on the summary tab, it's, let me think. Because
I can get a summary tab off of a chart that's got executions plotted on it.
Yeah, send me an email on that, Mike, and I can get a clear answer for you since this is of personal interest.
Okay, and I think, let me just take a quick last look here. I'm pretty sure that these last few questions are repeats. We're at 2 hours. So I have one final question here from TZ. I'll leave it up to you on how much detail you want to go into. But the question is basically, what's new with charts? What's new with ChartTrader?
Oh, that's a lot. Trying to think. You know, there is quite a lot that's new, but there's actually a lot that's not. And the reason is that, you know, right or wrong, my impression is that our charts, functionality-wise, you know, cover, you know, a broad gamut. It covers the majority of users. And my personal belief has always been that as soon as you start adding the features for the remaining, you know, percentage points, you start introducing bloat and clutter, and it takes away from let's just say that the minimalistic approach. I don't know if I'd go that far, but you know, you start adding feature on top of feature on top of feature on top of feature, and you got to put it somewhere, you know, and then you start thinking, okay, how do I hide this because it's getting too bloated, and it just becomes complex. So when we specified NinjaTrader 8 charts, we really did not make a lot of little changes in terms of what people, their use experience was like with NinjaTrader 7, but we, at least I believe, we made thoughtful changes. So let me give you one example. One of the areas that you know, people have wanted some changes in the area of how we do multi-series charts and equidistant versus non-equidistant. And so we've provided some more flexibility in that area, for example. Another thing, we provide, here's a simple thing, like drawing objects, for example, have their own dialog window now. So just like an indicator or a chart or, pardon me, a data series or a strategy, you can right-click and say drawing objects. You would see all drawing objects. You can then select a bunch of them, turn visibility off on them, hit OK, and that's actually true for all objects on the chart. So there's a new, let's say, visible property. So if you've got 10 indicators on there, right, but you only want to see 5 at a time as an example, and you don't want to remove them only to have to add them again because it's just not a good workflow, you can just, you know, change the visibility property as an example. So those are just a couple of little things. ChartTrader itself, there's definitely some changes in there, but it's really it's not drastic by any means, because I just don't feel that we're not building a new product because people don't like what we have now, I guess is what I'm saying. And I tried to keep, just like I showed you with the SuperDOM, where my concern was, well, people wanted to have these volume columns, but I didn't want to do it in a way where people who didn't want it were going to pay the price because the look and feel is completely different. And when I open up that dome for the first time, it's more or less, an evolution graphically to what you're used to with NinjaTrader 7. I don't think people are going to go, oh my God, what the heck did they do here? But if it's there, if they want the volume, it's there, and that's the same approach we took with the charts.
Right. Okay, so Ray, I have to tell you again that I really appreciate your time and sticking with us for 2 hours, 2.5 almost, to answer everybody's question. I just can't, my voice won't let me go anymore. But we'll definitely invite you back for many, many more webinars as you start rolling out the betas. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest, lots of questions, lots to show off. And I just want to say, really good job, and I mean it. I think you've done it the right thing, and I look forward to, honestly, I look forward to see what all these users are going to create, because NT7 kind of got your foot in the door, right? And I think this is going to, make it wide open, so it's going to be fun. All right, guys, I'm going to post the recording of this sometime tomorrow. Give me some time for that, please.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray.
Take care, everybody.
See you guys.